Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. Today we have with us Dayo Akinrinade. How are you?
Yes,
I
I am
pronounced it right?
wonderful. You absolutely did. Shahid, how are you? I am great.
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on the show. You know, it's fantastic what you did with this app. And you know, I'm super excited and enthused to kind of get into this conversation, ask you some questions, try to figure out how this genius came out and created what you created. Now, my first question is this something that you have always wanted to do when it comes to app development or product development? Have you, like growing up, was it always something that you wanted to get into, like business side of things? Creation, any sort of creation?
Okay, that's a great question to start with. So what I can say is that I wouldn't say when I grew up, I knew I wanted to get into app development. I mean, actually, incidentally, right?
Business.
I didn't grow up with apps or even mobile phones, right?
Like business, entrepreneurship, and creating something, creating a product or doing something on your own, right? Instead of employment.
I will say that I grew up around computers. I grew up in a home where I think at the time my mother was doing a PhD at the London School of Economics. I was obviously just like a little girl hanging around. And because her PhD involved statistics, what used to happen then, she would program the research she wanted to do, and the research would be on like a punch card. And then I would follow her into the university, and we would go to the computer room. And the computer room was a really big room. Nobody was allowed inside the room, right? This is the early days of computing. So I would just remember seeing, there was this big computer room. And then she would give her research cards to the computer operator. Then we would come back the next week and he would have run all of her analysis and he would give her the results. Then she would take the results home and do some more work. So if I think back, I think that was where I had this early fascination with computers, and the fact that computers in those days, imagine it was this big, expensive processing machine, like regular people couldn't even go in. So I think for me, that was where the interest in computers started. So I went on to study computer science. From there, I moved into IT management consulting. So I used to work at like the big four consulting firms. What I realized when I was doing that work was you work on a variety of projects, always technology projects. The projects I enjoyed the most were the projects where I had the opportunity to lead, all the projects where I was able to start from the beginning, the inception, where you come to a business, you look at the problem.
Oh, okay.
Create the solution, you roll it out. I found that if I joined a project halfway through, so maybe you've decided on the solution and you're building, I didn't enjoy it that much because I didn't have buy-in as to the why. Why are we doing this? So that was where I learned something about myself, that I'm more comfortable leading and I'm more comfortable working on something where I need to have been present when we're deciding what are we going to build. If you give me the solution halfway through, it's not that easy for me to get by, and I'm questioning, maybe I would have done it this way or that way. So I would say like those were kind of the early indicators that showed me that, okay, I like computers, I like creating stuff, I like leading. I think that's one part of it. And then onto the why wisdom, right? So, and actually to anyone listening in, of course, they might be wondering what is wisdom. So Shahid and I, Shahid is also a member of the wisdom community, right? But we're a social audio app, and we use social audio to connect knowledge seekers to mentors, I think is a great way to put it. So you can think of us a little bit like Clubhouse meets masterclass. Is kind of what I think there. So I think the other part of, okay, why create wisdom? Wisdom is all about mentorship, right? So our mission is to democratize access to mentorship. And part of my kind of why, why did I want to do this? I found at many stages of my life, being a woman in tech as well, also being a Black woman in tech, also being a child of immigrants in tech. And I found that at various stages of my career, I wasn't able to tap into the mentorship that I needed to progress. So maybe to give one example, sometimes I had specific questions around maybe being a woman in tech. I also had questions around experiences that I had being a Black woman in tech. But when I looked at my organizations, there weren't senior women who had the wisdom, right? Because you're accumulating wisdom over years. There were very few women of color, very few diverse people. And then even within my community, because I think sometimes, mentoring happens within the community. You may have a neighbor or an uncle or someone maybe through your religious community who your family can be like, oh, go and talk to so-and-so because, they've done this before. And what I found is that I wasn't able to get that mentorship within my networks. Then when I tried to use LinkedIn, kind of went on LinkedIn and you search for people, I would inbox them. Hey, I would like to get 20 minutes, on a call, da, 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 da. And what I found is that LinkedIn isn't built for mentoring. LinkedIn is built for connecting to people who you already know, who are in your network. What I find visible people on LinkedIn tend to have a problem where their inboxes will get filled with requests, inbounds. I'm sure you get them too. People you don't know who are just DMing you. And a lot of the time, what ends up happening, we ignore those requests, right? And the only request maybe you pay attention to is if you have someone in common with the person, or it's a warm introduction. If I say, oh, Shahid, please speak to this person because they want to start a podcast and you've done really well with yours, you're probably going to take the meeting because Dayo referred you. But when it's a random person you don't know, you just don't have the time. So the idea around wisdom is saying, let's use social audio. Let's create a community of experts and mentors, people who have come with good intention, who, want to give back. They go live on Wisdom, they broadcast, they create talks, people can listen in. And, we have our special guest timer where anyone who's listening can request maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. And you can have a one-to-one. So yeah, we're all about having these one-to-one conversations.
Yes, and that's like creating a more intimate environment too, right?
Yeah, I think that's a key differentiator of Wisdom because of course the social audio space now, it's enormous and it's growing. I think a key differentiator of Wisdom is all of the conversations are one-to-one. It is intimate, it is focused. And for me, I believe that's when mentoring really happens. That's when knowledge really happens, right? If you listen to an online course, it's a one-way flow. You can't ask a course a question. Explore this. Can we go back, over that and kind of diagnose? So yeah, I would think a key part of Wisdom, it is that. And I think the one-to-one, it allows for the vulnerability. And then, of course, we always have an audience of listeners, because I think, a lot of people realize you can learn a lot by listening to somebody else being mentored. As a business owner, you can learn a lot by listening to other business owners asking experts questions. So on Wisdom, you can benefit, first of all, from the one-to-one, or you can be a listener. And then finally, all of the talks on Wisdom are recorded. By default. So when you go live on Wisdom and you start a talk, it's recorded. That talk gets saved down to your profile. So to look at Wisdom from the creator side, what it means is that as a creator, you can build up an audio library of your best talks. Some people have said it's a little bit like TED Talks or whatnot, but it means that as a creator, if you share the link for your Wisdom profile to anyone, they can just click in and be like, okay, these are the best talks by this particular creator, and they'll get to know you in a different way. It's different. I think, when you read somebody's website, that's going to give me an impression about you. But if I can hear you speaking live passionately about your expertise, then, I think that's really when connections happen.
Yeah. And it's all about connections, right? And since pandemic, It's the realization that, you know, the humanization of a business is so important. And that's what these platforms like Wisdom does that, right? It's connecting people, even in the audience that are listening, they're connecting both to the mentor and the person who's the guest with them. They're actually connecting. It's you feel good, like you DM someone, you're actually feel like you know them. You know, it's like, it doesn't feel like you just randomly DM someone.
Yeah, but I couldn't agree more. I think there is something about this one-to-one format that allows people to go deep. And to your point, you really get to know people. And unlike, of course, there's so many different experiences out there in terms of how you can connect to people. But to your point, that one-to-one, there aren't distractions. And then I think it just lets people be, I think audio is very authentic, right? You hear the emotion, you hear the person's voice and what they're saying, and it's in real time. And to your point, I think there is this universal human need for connection. And I think also a need for wisdom. I think there's a lot of information out there. We're being bombarded all the time. You go to Google, you get the results, but are you getting wisdom? Are you getting somebody's experience? And yeah, I think that's where we really differentiate.
And I have a feeling that the word wisdom, the name that you came up with this company, that has a deeper meaning to you. Is there a deeper meaning to this word to you, wisdom?
I will say yes, in that I'm careful to differentiate wisdom from, I think it's very easy to access knowledge and information. Perhaps there's so much information out there, but particularly wisdom, which I think is like built up experience over time. Yeah, I think it's very precious. And, and I can also explain another aspect of previous work I've done that kind of feeds into, why wisdom. So I spent a period of time working on a program in London. In fact, I was on the founding team of a program called One Tech. So One Tech is, to date, the UK's largest diversity in startups program. And the mission statement of the program was saying that they looked at the profile of founders, tech founders in the UK, who were accessing investment. And the profile was very skewed towards majority men, majority white men as well, and majority men that had a degree. And with this particular fund, and it was a government-backed fund, they said, well, entrepreneurship should be accessible to everyone. You shouldn't have to have a degree to want to start a business. They said, that we should have more representation of genders and ethnic groups and immigrants, because they said London is a diverse city, and the profile of people that we invest in should also be diverse. So from doing we did a lot of exploration work in the early stages of the program to try and work out why did it turn out this way. Incidentally, it was, I think it's a 50 million, it was a 50 million pound fund, right? And it had been about 65% distributed. So there was a real pressure in terms of saying, well, we've been funding a lot of the same profile of person. We still have some money left. How are we going to diversify who we're investing in? And a key finding that came out of the program was that diverse people do want to start businesses. People from underrepresented groups want to start businesses, but what they lacked was access to mentorship and access to wisdom. So to give an example, you might be a 23-year-old person. I love food. I want to design B2B software for the restaurant industry. And they would have an idea, they would start building something, they would go and pitch for investment, they would be unsuccessful. When we looked as to why, we realized that, well, if you want to build something for the restaurant industry, one of the first things you need to do is interview restaurant owners, interview your intended customer, understand what their problems are, right? As an individual, this 22-year-old, they may think they know the problem, but until you speak to the restaurant owners, they will be like, this is the problem. And that's where, to me, it begins to look like wisdom, because that is intangible accumulated experience. You're not going to find that on Google. If I go and Google for restaurant owners in London, what are the top things keeping them up at night? You're not really going to get that until you speak to somebody and kind of unlock the wisdom. And so that was something that it was always top of my mind. And then once social audio technologies became, sort of more accessible, that leads us to wisdom.
Amazing. Great. And, from what I'm hearing, you're a natural born founder. So I can see that you're going to come up with other plans, other products. But for now, Dayo, is there one feature that nobody knows that's coming out for wisdom that you can share on this show?
Oh, you that is a great question. So I'll say around the features. So with wisdom, we launched in October. It's been so fast.
No,
we launched in October.
August. October. Yeah. I got an email around August, I think, to be part of it. Yes.
Yeah, you were in our early cohort, right? So you were very
early, like the first ones. Yeah.
Yeah, you were a special part of our beta group, which would have been August. And then we opened up to the world. We launched in the App Store fully in October. And since then, and I'll walk you through the feature updates and then see if I can give you a hint as to what is coming.
You can't say it, right? But let's see if I can read between the lines.
Yeah, exactly. We would say a few things. So I would say one of our early major feature releases was the ability. So when a user starts a talk, and once they complete a talk, that talk is saved to their wisdom profile.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We've now added the feature where a user can download their talk afterwards, the MP4 file. And that was something which it was really listening to our early community, because we have a lot of, like you, podcasters on the platform. Mm-hmm. And they started experimenting and they said, we can record our podcast live on Wisdom with a live audience. We can have people drop in, give their comments, like a whole other angle of content creation. So they, in essence, gave us the feedback. And so now you can download, after you finish your talk on Wisdom, as the content creator, you can download that MP4 file and repurpose that file as you wish. So you may take it, add it into your podcast, share it online. I would say, that is one major feature. Another feature that we have literally just released is also a high fidelity audio recording. So now if you if you create a talk on Wisdom, we've increased the quality of that sound file, meaning that, there isn't a compromise now. And I think it's also around lowering the bar to content creation, because now, there isn't a compromise. So we now have the high quality audio recording. Another feature, which I really believe we're definitely one of the first to do this in social audio, and that's live reactions. So how sometimes you're listening to a podcast or you're listening to an audio conversation and you want to react. You want to agree, you want to disagree, you want to clap, something, right? And right now you can't do it on a lot of platforms. So we recently rolled out reactions now, where we have custom emojis and you can react during a talk. You can express, your emotion, love, like, hey, clap, that type of thing. And then, of course, as you can imagine, for us and our algorithm at the back end, those reactions can then, send signals to us in terms of, is this a talk?
Oh, yes.
So
yes.
We can use that to prioritize how we show people's content. Now, a couple of features that I can say are coming up soon, and these have been heavily requested by the community. Our next set of features are really focused around helping the wisdom community to connect. People want to find their friends. So we will be rolling out soon a search function. So you can search for other wisdomers, people so you can follow them, get notified when they go live with that connectivity. We are also looking at DMs, so direct messaging.
Okay.
Yeah, the one-to-one. And again, That's looking around the community to be connecting. And then finally, this is a future feature. Oh, I can also mention Android. So we will be rolling out the Android version H1 first half of this year. We're not going to take too long to do it. And then also on the more future roadmap is monetization, creator monetization. So I do think, and different social networks take different strategies. Some social networks build and build and build, that they don't worry about monetization. For us, it is a priority that I do want creators to be able to monetize giving advice through wisdom. Because I do think that for a lot of us as experts, as leaders, as creators, I think a lot of us sometimes struggle to monetize our advice. I think there's a difference between the can I pick your brain for a few minutes versus sometimes you'll be giving a whole consultation to somebody.
Pretty much.
Yeah, yes, over the time. So we are now in the exploratory stages of building out a function where, as an expert, through social audio directly, people can pay you and you can monetize your advice, directly through social audio. So rather than, I think, what tends to happen today, which is you will sometimes, if you meet a prospective lead over social media, you will move them into your funnel. Maybe you'll book a meeting, you'll schedule, you'll take, and people get lost through that funnel. So what we're saying with wisdom is, if I'm listening to you now, maybe I've listened to a couple of your talks, I've guested, had like a 15-minute spot with you. We've worked on some stuff. And I'm like, I want to book you for an hour now. Let's do this. You might be a therapist, you might be a consultant. But we want to have that happening live through wisdom.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
so
good.
almost becoming almost like a marketplace for advice. And I suppose one other feature, because I've gone ahead of myself, I should mention the mentor coin as well, because I think the mentor coin is a pretty unique feature when we kind of look across creatorship. So
are you doing like decentralizing that? Like, are you going to make it into a coin, or is it already registered? Like, it's already set up as a coin?
Great question. So when we say mentor coin, it's not a blockchain, ledger,
no,
crypto,
it's just
So what mentor coin is, in essence, it's a virtual in-app currency, and our creators earn mentor coin in proportion to the number of people and minutes who are listening to them. So the more people listen to you, the longer they listen to you, you accumulate mentor coin. Once you build up a certain amount of mentor coin, you can, this is just through the app, switch out the mentor coin for, which you try, like a gift card. Yeah. And that gift card is redeemable at places like Starbucks, Target, Amazon, Walmart. So a lot of the retailers, that we use today. Or you can donate your mentor coin to charity. We do have some people who partner through with charities like the Clean Water Fund and Habitat for Humanity. There's a longer list of charities. So the idea around the mentor coin is that, at least today, as a creator on Wisdom, what we're saying is that we see you, we acknowledge you, we understand that you are spending time on this platform, creating content. And, if you give a great talk on Wisdom, a few great talks, at least, we can buy you a cup of coffee. We can give you something to sort of incentivize, because I do think it's crazy that a lot of the large social networks today, they don't really share their profits or reward the middle class of content creators. By middle class, what I mean is typically people with between maybe 10,000 and 500,000 followers. They are not really the focus of the larger platforms, like the YouTubes, the Instagrams. It's typically the people that once you get to, closer to 1 million, that they can really begin to benefit and monetize. And I think with Wisdom being creative first, it was absolutely a priority that from as soon as we launched, we were at least offering something to our early creators.
No, it was really good. Yeah, it's really good. It was very thoughtful. Actually, the mentor coin was what got my extra attention as well, because by seeing that and seeing that implemented in an app, it showed the backing has heart. Like you founded a company, your product, but you were thinking about the people. Like you're like, that's incredible that you implemented that right at launch. Like people might have done that later, but right at launch, you have that part of the ecosystem, which is great.
Well, I think absolutely. Now, one other feature, and you will be, and for anyone who's listening in live,
keep it a secret.
No, this is this is rolling out quite soon. So yes, like don't tell too many people.
Okay, everyone.
But we will be rolling out hopefully by next month on target. Also likes. So in essence, we're saying
number of likes.
Yeah, where you can like a talk, and also where, let's just take you, for example, Shahid, on your wisdom profile. If I look at your wisdom profile, I will be able to see talks that you have liked. So almost like,
that's good.
Almost like your recommendations.
Yes.
In a way, right? If Shahid likes it, it's probably going to be a good talk, because I trust his judgment, his judgments as well. And then it can also be a way of saying, if you listen to a talk and you like it and we save it down, it's like a bookmark. You can return to that talk later.
It does two jobs. It books market too. But for the actual liking, is it incorporated or kind of connected or interconnected or will be connected to the mentor coin?
Ooh, that is a good so you could be it would not at the moment, but that is a very interesting angle. I mean, we could offer maybe bonuses or something if a lot of people are like content.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would like that. And on wisdom, there's an area, little blank area. Is there something coming there?
You mean on the?
So you see the two pictures, right? And then underneath, between the list and there's some blank or empty space. Is there on the phone, or is it on my phone?
That's a great question. So I can say I can reveal as well. We do have within our next release, we are also going to, when you create a talk on wisdom, you create a title for the talk. We are going to increase the number of characters that you can use in your talk title. So some of the space will be going to that. And it's a small improvement, but even for myself, I create talks, I create on social audio. We do want that longer talk title, because sometimes maybe, people are doing a season of talks. So let's have enough characters. Say episode 1, : this is what it's about. So that's where some of the space will be going.
Okay. Nothing else is coming in that space.
I mean, possibly. I'm at the limit of what I would reveal for now.
I'm sorry, no.
That's a good question. Should we say,
no problem.
When they say watch the space?
Yeah, everyone, watch the space.
Watch the space.
Watch the space. Another recommendation or suggestion I may have, and you can probably tell me if it's possible, bios. Can we increase the number of characters? Because I had a lot of trouble trying to fit. I write a lot. I wanted to put a lot of stuff in there. So is there a reason why there's a short limit like that on the bio?
I would say not particularly. I'm not sure offhand how many characters we have, but
I believe it's 200. So very, like, you can only get like a paragraph in there, like a short one. So anyways, I thought there was a reason for it. If they're not, like, that would be a really, really amazing thing, because you can actually kind of explain a lot in there, right? Without having to go to other platforms.
No, I think absolutely. So thank you for the feedback. I can absolutely take that down.
And what was your most memorable mentorship experience for yourself in the past?
Wow, that is gosh. This is with somebody mentoring me,
Yeah,
or
you, like in the past, that, any memorable mentor. If you don't, it's okay. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just trying to understand that, you know, in the past, you must have been mentored as well, right? Like, was there something that someone did with you that, it was memorable?
it's a really great question. I'm gonna say part of my driver for wanting to create wisdom was me being unable to access the mentorship that I wanted. So I had an awareness, like, where there were maybe things I wanted to do, things I wanted to explore, but even with despite my efforts to network, I wasn't able to tap into certain people. And maybe so I would say mentorship was always something I wanted, but I think just maybe whether it's, because mentoring, it's all about networks, right? And I'm talking about when I was, younger, at 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. At that stage, it is pretty much who do you know, or who can you, try and reach. So, but I would say maybe one, if I think back, and this is more when I was in the corporate world, I did for a couple of years work under a director who was a great mentor. And very specifically, what turned the light bulb on for me was she was also a great sponsor. And it was the first time that I really understood what mentorship looked like, because I realized, at least within that corporate context, it wasn't just mentorship, it was sponsorship. So the person would speak about me when I wasn't in the room and speak about what a great job I was doing. And I saw that for the couple of years that I worked under this particular person, I progressed so much faster. And then I was like, wow, so is this what it's like when somebody decides to mentor you? Because I just wasn't, even aware that, such a thing. So I would say there was one particular mentor. And yeah, it probably helped that she was also a senior woman within technology. So perhaps a little bit relatable in that aspect. And maybe she took an interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, those experiences go a long way, right? And sometimes you recall outsiders, I say, but I'm talking about people that not directly in your family, but someone that you have experience with in job or business or something. They have done something that created a memorable experience that stayed with someone right throughout their journey. It was just there, hovering. So that's the reason why I was asking.
No, I think absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And from the research, from what we see, right, about you, it looks like that you are both left brain and right brain. So you're very creative, but also analytical. How do you balance that? Like, is this something that you worked on, or is it natural? Like, how do you incorporate, like, people that do that usually go through some rigorous mindset training, right? Have you gone through some sort of mindset training, or is it natural with you to kind of have that balance?
Great question. I think it's a combination of, some of it is, it's a good question. I'm going to say some is natural. Natural meaning, if I think back to education, I was good with sciences and English and creative and writing. Like, I was able to to do both. There wasn't a particular problem there. And then I'm going to say there is an element there of maybe mindset and determination. So within this approach to entrepreneurship, of saying, sometimes you just need to get things done. And sometimes with entrepreneurship, I will be there saying, look, I'm not a creative and I'm not an artist, but these are 3 examples of very good art. We need something that is going to look similar to this level. Please go and execute. So I think sometimes there is an element of, with entrepreneurship, sometimes if there's a task that needs to be achieved and it's not in your wheelhouse, oftentimes in the early stages of entrepreneurship, you cannot afford to hire. the best people to execute on the aspects of your business in the early days, especially before you've raised finance. And at that point, it then just I think then there is an element of, as an entrepreneur or a founder, of saying, how am I going to execute in areas that may not be my specialty? Even if I bring somebody on board, you still need to influence and manage, right, to the desired outcome. And whether that is more to do with technology or finance, or like you said, creative design and products, I think it is helpful, to your point, to be able just to be determined and flex your brain in those areas, right? Sometimes some people will be intimidated and they just don't look. Oh, I'm not good with numbers, so I'm not going to look at my account at all. But you need to be able to, yes, defer to the expert, but you've got to, open yourself up a bit and have some awareness. So I'm going to say, for me, it's some natural ability, but some of it is also mindset training. Sometimes, and I experience this as well, sometimes there's a fear of the unknown. Oh, there's a task, there's an area. I don't know anything about this. But it's pushing through the fear. And then when you eventually come to work on it, the fear is often worse than actually getting your hands dirty and getting into the task.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we stop ourselves. We get in our own way. So
fear of failure. Fear of failure.
Fear of failure. Yeah.
If we're speaking around mindset, I would say one thing in particular that I'm really trying to learn on and embrace and work on, it is that, failure is good. Don't be afraid to fail. You can fail with small little experiments and little things you're trying, and that is still progress.
Yeah, I find that once people have like more of awareness about who and what they truly are, once they, come into more of their essence of who they are, and they start operating from that place, they start trusting things, they start understanding how things work, and that confidence, that fear, confidence increases, the fear decreases over time. And, that's why I find that it's so important, especially, how you mentioned the point about execution in business. You'll be surprised like how many people go into business, they have great ideas, and phenomenal concepts. And this is what I do. I interview people I meet. That's what I'm passionate about. I love meeting people and talking to them, what they did, right? And you find that everything is great. It's just the execution they lack, And then how about in your experience in the companies that you founded? Did you have to face the level of execution from the people around you? And then how did you deal with that?
That's a great question in terms of managing.
Yeah, because execution is something that I find that it's an art, it's, people say action, but then because of all the stream of thoughts and people we might have a plan for a phenomenal date, for example. And they say, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to rock it, right? These thoughts start coming and they start going with those streams of thought. They start going in, all of a sudden it's 2 hours gone. So they want to do a lot that day, and then they just don't, right? The execution is just an issue. It's an issue, right? And I'm just wondering if you ever had experience working with people and how you help them or mentor them.
I think it's a great question, because to your point, it's easy to become overwhelmed with so many things to do, and then it's that you just become paralysis. And I would say, this at least to me, it looks like managing teams or managing individuals to achieve a desired outcome. And I think it's important as an executor, as a leader. And I would say a lot of these skills I learned in management consulting. I think that was great, because they do show this concept of framework, structure, rigor, planning. It's it's a tough learning environment and a tough curve, but I'm grateful for it because things then become very instinctive. But no, yeah, as in terms of like mentorship and people, for me, it's depending on the individual. Sometimes giving them a task or a target that they can conceive of. If it's this 3-month endeavor, maybe I'm just going to take you through what we need to do in the first 2 weeks, because for some people, the 3 months, that becomes overwhelming. Whereas for some people like me, I'm like, tell me the 3 months because my brain is thinking ahead. But for me, it's like focusing them on a shorter term piece.
Blocks.
Yeah, exactly. The blocks of the work, being to the point where you're like, and ensuring that they have everything that they need to execute. And then, as a leader, you can get out of the way and they can execute. But it's like, do you have everything that you need? For me, it's like, it's building in checkpoints along the way. A checkpoint is always great in terms of a deadline. And then it does sound cliched, but when they say you cannot over communicate enough, and it sounds very cliched, but I think, it's so true in terms of like, are we on the same page? And then, when I'm dealing with vendors, there's little tricks sometimes. I'll do things like, okay, even if it's a 3-week thing, I'll say, let's check in on day 2. I want you to feed back to me your understanding and what your intention is, so we can see if we're on the same page for later. Sometimes it's about those early checkpoints so that people don't go off a bit too far. And then sometimes feedback and encouragement, I just think is so key. But I think I only kind of know this because I'm not too far away from when I first graduated and started working in companies. And I think for morale, it makes such a difference, right? When somebody just says, whether it's on Friday at the end of the week, well done, your contribution is valid, well done on this particular thing and that particular thing you did. And it's difficult to make the time to do those things. And I think what happens is as people become more and more, senior and progress, sometimes, you become a bit jaded, you become a bit tough and you're like, well, nobody did that for me, so why should I have to da, 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 da. But I think those things are important. And particularly now that we have, is it Gen Z? I don't know, who are in the early 20s entering the workplace, they have, I just find like they have a very, I don't know, straightforward, no nonsense attitude. They expect to be treated like human beings, right? They're not this sort of, I don't know, Wall Street greed is good, just throw enough money at me and you can treat me any which way. They want to be somewhere because they connect with the mission and they feel comfortable, and they want to bring their full selves to work. Their full diversity. They don't expect to come to a workplace and hold back areas of themselves. And and I say this myself as being, of course, I'm a Black woman in tech, I'm British and I'm Nigerian as well. I've absolutely worked in workplaces where I didn't necessarily feel comfortable. If somebody would ask me, what did you do on the weekend? I instinctively knew, look, I don't really want to tell you what I did, because if I start to talk about maybe the things that I do within my particular culture, you're going to think it's weird. If I changed my hair in the office, it will become a whole conversation about, oh, her hair, this.
Yeah.
So, and I think now, we owe it to ourselves as business leaders. And I know it does sound cliched, but yeah, when people can bring their full self and be really comfortable, that's when you get the ideas. That's when, do you know what I mean? People really become committed and have a great culture.
Yeah, it's that supportive culture, as the saying, hey, don't worry, made a mistake, it's okay. Let's figure out another way, right? And people thrive in that kind of environment. They don't fear, because if you have people fear in an organization, they're not going to perform the way you want them to. You're not going to produce the quality that you're looking for, right? So, yeah. And we always like to ask our guests what their inner superpower is that got them to this point.
Oh, okay. I'm going to say, wow, for me, inner superpower. I'm going to say, for me, ability to see the big picture and to see the attention to detail. And being able to switch back between both. So being able to have this big, broad vision, but then as you said, around the execution. And some of the execution is really boring, unglamorous tasks. But especially in the early days, when you have a vision and you need to build a little bit so you can show other people, and then, oh yeah, I see your vision. You've got to get to be really humble and do the small building blocks, and be willing to teach yourself new things or convince other people to teach you or get them. So I'm going to say that I think for me the superpower is it's being able to operate at the higher level and the strategy, but then also the more task orientated lower level, and being able to switch through.
It's like the peripheral view of the company. You're able to see the big entire picture. Yeah, I like that. And it's kind of, my business partner and I were launching a startup too. I don't know if you heard of it, My Go-To.
Please tell me. Tell us more.
Yeah, so my partner, My Go-To guy, Dwayne, he's on Wisdom. He's there a lot, actually.
Okay, I do see.
Yeah. So even with that is that, when you have a big picture and then you kind of bring it small and you kind of explain it and you delegate and you put it in the words that the other person will understand what to create. That also, to your point, is that how do you do it, right? Like how there's so many angles you can take because mistakes are always made, especially in software development. How do you deal with it, right? And your point about creating that culture, creating that environment where even if someone messes up, you kind of find a solution, you fix it, you keep going. But having that vision of the big picture is critical in a startup and a business, though.
No, I think absolutely, because there's never enough resources or enough time to execute on what you want, and you have to prioritize, right? What's going to make the most impact?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And my one last question I want to ask you is that, what is the most underrated skill it takes to make it in a startup or a business? The most underrated skill.
Wow, you have great questions.
Oh, thank you. But I feel kind of bad too, because I don't mean to put you on the spot with these questions. I just want to flow with it.
No, they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
The most underrated skill I'm going to say is, I'm going to say Microsoft Excel or Google Sheets.
Put it together, right? Share the information.
Yeah, and I know it sounds, but it is underrated. It is underrated. I think everyone needs to be able to know now. Work a spreadsheet, at least
work
to
a spreadsheet.
Google Sheets. Yeah. I think that's what comes to mind.
So now you gave away your secret. That's how you're managing all the wisdom on Google Sheets. I hope not. No, I'm just joking.
Even the databases are putting from that. But yeah, I would say that.
Oh, really?
No.
I got a lot of secrets from you. No, I'm just joking. Of course you're not.
Yeah. And the other thing I would just say, maybe underrated skill, I would just think is also, I think, being humble and not being, no one is too big to do any task.
Yeah.
I think however mean look, I think the underrated skill is no one's too big to be able to do any task. And you've also got to feel comfortable to try things that are outside of your comfort zone. But particularly nobody being too big. And I think it's also underrated. I think I'll double down on that. Being humble, no one is too big to do any task. And know that you're going to have to do a lot of boring stuff before it gets to the fun stuff. Some people in startup, they think you're going to come in and be doing all the fun founder stuff and being the face of a company,
Yeah.
but we're going to do like loads of building blocks and,
Yes. But Dayo, you're having fun now though, aren't you?
Yeah, this is the fun stuff.
That's great. And congratulations on the seed money. I can't wait to see Wisdom evolve and grow into something that changes lives all over the world. That it provides a platform for people like, me, my business partner, other mentors that have wisdom and they want to share it and rightfully earn an income from it at the same time. What you're doing and your algorithm, like everything that you guys are doing, what you're doing, what you created, is very humble. It's very, very giving. And I know you're going to go in big places. So hopefully you remember us little people in the future and you keep in touch. And, it's been an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you for that. And I mean, absolutely. Wisdom, we build a platform, but without the community, without the wisdomers like yourself, we have nothing. We have an empty platform. So it is, and especially for our the people like you who have been on board from the beta, and you've helped to build the foundation of wisdom. You've also helped to set the culture. When we talk about culture, it's the first, 10, the first 10 people. And then from there, it's the culture. And we have such a well-intentioned, helpful community and people that are just filled with good intention, who are there to share knowledge and to give back. And to your point, I think it's the future of wisdom is so excited. On one hand, we have like the knowledge seekers and the people who want to, be mentored. And then we have like yourselves, the experts. And it is a case of also looking at people like you and saying, okay, this is for you also around profile building and making connections and, growing your business and monetization, but at the same time doing some good and, mentoring and helping. So yeah, I think it's really exciting.
Yeah, doing good goes a long way, and and business and money and success just come by default when you just focus on people, and you guys are hands down doing that. One last thing before I let you go. So are you going to be implementing like live tipping or anything in the app? Like, so how you can like someone when they're talking, but also kind of press a button, have it set up from beforehand, press a button and it sends a tip to the speaker or something like a cash tip.
Yeah, so I would say for us, we don't have any immediate plans within that area. I think, right now in terms of creator monetization, we have the mentor coin, which exists today, but that mentor coin is based on your listening minutes, how many people are listening. And in the future, where we are looking for creator monetization, the plan there, we're still working out what it's going to look like with this sort of one-to-one mentoring. It may also be private one-to-one mentoring, because it's really going to unpack the roots of my business, or maybe if it's a private therapy session.
That's good. So if you have an option, like an option, right? If you want to pick private or you want to be in public.
Yeah, exactly. Well, exactly. Yeah, we're working out what, that should look like. And then that's where, so it wouldn't be, somebody's asking, so much like a tip, because that's more of a transaction. So we're agreeing, I'm going to have an hour of your time, and which is it's still a payment. It's it's money, but it's not a tip per se. It's more of a value exchange. So no, at the moment we don't have something around tipping per se, but it is more what I've described around the like paid.
Yes, it's good. And to be honest, I haven't been on the app much. I'm going to make an effort. I haven't been on Clubhouse and the other ones either. So I'm going to create a schedule and start adding to the platform, because, I haven't. So just want to let you know, I plan to.
Okay. When you schedule the time, that's the thing with social audio and social media, right? Like sometimes we find ourselves like we have to schedule the time in. And if we don't, Life just gets busy. So yeah, work us in. You might want to do, we have some of our wisdomers who are doing the morning affirmations with wisdom. So some people tune in for that. Some people wisdom like on their commute. For some people it's the evenings. But yeah, you'll find your schedule.
Okay. Yeah, I'll do that. I'll try. Another thing, can we do a talk on wisdom too one of these days when you have a chance?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You set that up.
Yeah, let's set that up. Are you going to set it up or should I get Ken to send you an email?
Interview. I have a special form I could send, kind of
Perfect. Let's do that.
Perfect.
Okay, well, Dayo, it's been an honor and a pleasure. I know we're 10 minutes over time. You're busy. I wish you all the growth in the world. Thank you for being on the show. Once we have the assets ready, we'll send you an email with all the content. And we ask that you share with your community and keep in touch, please. If you're ever in Canada or Toronto, DM. And we'll be in touch soon for the Wisdom Talk.
All right, fantastic. And Shahid, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed this.
Pleasure.
And we should also just say before we sign off as well, in case anyone is listening in and they want to know where can they find wisdom, we could let them know our website is at wisdom.audio, or you can go to the Apple Store and just search for wisdom. You'll find us. And those are for the iOS people. And if you are Android, within a few more months, we will be available on Android as well.
Few months, okay. Okay, yeah. So we're looking at springtime.
Three-ish, yeah, about 3-4 months.
Okay, well, that's great. That's exciting. Oh, by the way, how many users do you have as of today?
Now you probably know within consumer tech, that's just that's the are we still online?
Okay. Yeah, we still I didn't stop yet. Okay. Sorry.
Okay, no, I was just I just saw whether my connection had gone down. Yeah, so you may be aware, within consumer tech, we tend to not disclose.
Okay, no problem. Understood.
But what I can say that could be interesting. This would be as of December, between October to December,
between me and you.
Just between me. What I can say is that we have had, in terms of our mentors have mentored for over 600,000 minutes. Our listeners have listened for about 3,600,000 minutes.
Wow, great success.
Yeah, and then maybe another statistic that soon I think, we need to fully validate this, but I think we are soon to be one of the largest communities of mentors, like, on an app, on a platform.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. It's mentors heaven, and people that are seeking wisdom is their heaven as well. So anybody in the audience, if you guys are looking to do something and improve or take a direction that is not the current direction, is somewhat you're not happy with it for any reason, you want to change it, Wisdom app will give you that. So you go to Wisdom and you start searching and going to people, and the algorithm is quite amazing because it'll bring you all the content that you are interested in, but you get to kind of hear a lot of stuff to improve yourself. Even if you give yourself a couple hours a day, you're going to get the knowledge that you're looking for, whatever you're looking for, right? Any area. The mentors are phenomenal, and they're there to help. They're giving their time. So do join us on Wisdom. And thank you so much, Dayo. Again, have a great day, and we'll be in touch.